The rain was falling hard, and he almost didn't see them. 3 children, shivering, barefoot, and alone, were selling vegetables under banana leaves on the side of a lonely road. But what Dr. Jonas didn't know was that this moment would change everything. Who were these kids? Why did they feel strangely familiar? And what secret from the past was about to explode into the present? If you're new to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button and like the video. Also, tell us in the comments, where are you watching from? Now let's jump into the story. The rain had been falling for hours, soaking the narrow country road that wound between rice fields and scattered trees. The sky was a deep gray and the occasional roll of thunder echoed in the distance. Inside a sleek black car, warm and dry, Dr. Jonas Veltron tapped his fingers lightly on the window pane. His mind was elsewhere, far from the quiet countryside. "They were passing through, sir?" asked Oren, his driver, carefully navigating the slick road. Jonas didn't answer at first. Then his eyes caught something. 3 small figures huddled under large banana leaves near the side of the road. Their clothes were soaked. One of them held up what looked like a plastic bowl. Beside them, wet bundles of vegetables lay on a muddy cloth. "Stop the car," Jonas said firmly. Oren glanced back at him, confused. "Sir?" I said. "Stop. Pull over now." Without another word, Oren did as told. The car eased to the side of the road. Jonas stepped out immediately, ignoring the heavy rain. Oren grabbed an umbrella and rushed after him. "Dr. Veltron, please, let me hold that." "Go back to the car, Oren," Jonas said. "I need to speak to them." The children looked up as he approached. The tallest one, a boy with deep brown eyes, stood protectively in front of the others. "Good day, sir," the boy said with surprising confidence. "Would you like to buy some vegetables?" Jonas looked down. There were small tomatoes, green beans, and a few bitter gourds. Everything was soaked through, unfit for selling. "What are you doing here? It's not safe to be out in this storm," Jonas said, kneeling slightly to their level. "We sell here sometimes," the boy answered. "Some cars stop." A smaller boy beside him shivered, clutching a bundle of leaves. Jonas turned to the smallest, clearly a girl. Her lips were trembling, and her tiny arms were wrapped around herself. "We live far from town," the older boy continued. "Our grandma is sick, and this is how we try to earn a little money." "Where are your parents?" Jonas asked gently. "We don't have any," the older boy replied. "Just our grandma. She couldn't come today." Jonas felt his chest tighten. The children looked so much alike. Same eyes, same shape of the face. Triplets, he thought, all around 5 or 6 years old. "Come with me," he said. "Get in the car. I'll buy all of your vegetables." The little girl hesitated. "Our grandma told us not to go with strangers." Jonas gave a soft smile. "I understand. But I'm a doctor. I'm on my way to a medical mission in town. It's warm in the car. We also have food and blankets." The shivering boy peeked out from behind his brother. "Will you give rice too?" "Yes," Jonas replied. "There are relief goods in the truck. You can take some home." The children looked at each other. After a moment, the oldest boy nodded. "Okay, but we're wet and muddy." "That's fine," Jonas said kindly. "Come in." One by one, the children climbed into the car. Oren looked worried, but Jonas gave him a nod. He pulled out 3 clean towels from a bag in the trunk and handed them over. "Dry yourselves," he said. "What are your names?" "I'm Leo," the eldest said proudly. "This is Eli," he gestured to the shivering boy. "And this is Tali." Tali gave a shy smile as she dried her hair. Her cheeks were pale and her arms were still shaking. "I'm Jonas," he said, offering his hand. "But you can call me Dr. Jonas." "You're a real doctor?" Leo asked, eyes wide. "Yes, I am." "I want to be a doctor too," Tali whispered, holding the towel tightly. Jonas smiled. "Then you must study well and eat healthy food, and sleep in a warm bed, not in the rain." "We usually don't come this far," Eli said. "But Grandma ran out of her medicine and we needed money." "What kind of medicine?" Jonas asked. "She has asthma," Leo answered. But the clinic is far. Oren started the car again as the children warmed up. Jonas kept looking at them through the rearview mirror. They were thin, too thin. The kind of thin that came from weeks of hunger, not just a missed meal. Oren, Jonas said quietly, if you see a store selling clothes, stop. They need warm things to wear. Yes, sir, Oren replied. As the car rolled through the rain, Jonas leaned back in his seat. For reasons he couldn't explain, his thoughts wouldn't let go of the three little faces sitting behind him. He had seen hundreds of children in need over the years, but something about these three felt different. Something about them felt familiar. The rain had stopped by the time the sun rose the next morning. Birds sang from the trees as the countryside began to dry. Dr. Jonas Veltran stood at the window of his guest house watching the sky turn soft orange. But his thoughts were not on the sunrise. They were still on the three children asleep in the room next to his. Leo, Eli, and Taylor had eaten well the night before and fallen asleep quickly under warm blankets. Jonas had stayed by their side for a while, making sure they were comfortable. Something inside him had shifted. He couldn't explain it. He just knew he wanted to protect them. Later that morning, they all left for the medical mission site. The local clinic was already busy. People had traveled from nearby villages to see the doctors from the city. The air buzzed with excitement and hope. Jonas was met by Dr. Silas, the mission coordinator. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Silas said with a smile. Your presence here means a lot. I'm the one who's grateful, Jonas replied. This place has something special. As they walked through the tents, Jonas noticed the children had already found a spot near the vendors. They had set up a small basket of rice cakes their grandmother had prepared before falling ill. Even in a new place, they were eager to help. Rice cakes for $1, Eli shouted with a grin. They're delicious, Tally added, flashing a sweet smile. Jonas laughed. How much for all of them? You again? Leo joked. We'll give you a discount. Jonas paid more than they asked. He didn't care about the snacks. He cared about the sparkle in their eyes when someone showed them kindness. Not far from the vendor tents, Nurse Leora was helping with patient check-ins. She moved with quiet confidence, her hair tied back neatly, her eyes focused on her work. She had been with the Apex medical team for almost a year. Most people found her calm and serious, but kind. Hey, Leora, her friend Mila called out, nudging her gently. Look at those kids selling rice cakes. They're adorable. Leora glanced over. The moment her eyes landed on the children, something inside her paused. Her breath caught. They looked so familiar. The girl's eyes, big, brown, and deep, seemed to pull her into a memory she couldn't name. I'll be back, she said quietly. She walked slowly toward the children. Hello, Miss Nurse, Eli greeted cheerfully. Want to try one? Sure, Leora said, her voice soft. She took one rice cake, gave them a small bill, and studied them more closely. The way they stood close together, the way they smiled with warmth even in difficult times, it reminded her of something she had buried deep. How old are you three? She asked. We're 6, Tally replied proudly. Leora froze. 6 years ago, she had given birth to triplets. She had been told they didn't survive. But now standing in front of her were 3 children who could be theirs. The thought was too painful, too strange. You have beautiful eyes, she whispered to Tally. Our grandma says we got them from our mom, the little girl replied happily. Leora turned away quickly, her heart pounding. She walked back to the tents, her thoughts racing. Could it be? No, she told herself, it couldn't. Meanwhile, Jonas was being introduced on stage as one of the country's top neurosurgeons. The crowd clapped loudly, especially the hospital staff. Leora stood near the back, trying to stay hidden. But the moment she heard his name, her world tilted. Dr. Jonas Veltran, the announcer said with pride. Leora's eyes widened. Her legs felt weak. He stepped up to the stage, his face just as she remembered it. Calm, focused, and full of quiet strength. It had been 5 years since she had seen him. 5 years since they had spoken. No one told me he was part of the team, Leora whispered under her breath. He's even better looking in person, one of the nurses nearby said with a sigh. Leora, ducked behind another staff member, hoping he wouldn't see her. Her heart thudded against her chest. She wasn't ready for this. Not here. Not now. Back near the rice cake table, the children were still calling out to passers-by. Jonas finished his talk and stepped down from the stage. When he spotted the kids again, he smiled and walked toward them. "Doc Jonas," Tally squealed, running to him. "Hey, my little rice cake sellers," Jonas said, kneeling to their level. As he chatted with the children, Leora watched from a distance, hidden behind a column. She felt frozen in place. "You know that nurse from Apex?" Eli asked Jonas, pointing toward Leora's direction. Jonas followed the direction of Eli's hand. Leora turned quickly, pretending to fix a medical box. "Maybe she can eat with us later," Tally said cheerfully. Jonas raised an eyebrow, curious. "Do you know her?" "She's nice, and she has eyes like ours," Leo said with a shrug. Jonas laughed but felt something strange stir inside him. That evening, as the sun dipped below the hills, Leora sat alone in the staff room, her hands shaking. The faces of the children wouldn't leave her mind. And now Jonas was here, in the same place. After all this time, she had spent years trying to forget. Now, everything was coming back, and she was afraid. The night was quiet in the small town clinic, but Leora's thoughts were loud. She sat at her desk long after the other nurses had gone to bed. Her hands rested on a folder untouched for the last hour. No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't stop thinking about the children. Their voices, their eyes, their laughter. The way they looked at Jonas, and the way he looked back. Could it be? She had spent 6 years building walls around that memory, the day she gave birth. The moment she was told they didn't survive. No funerals. No goodbyes. Only tears and silence. The pain had shaped her, hardened her. But now the walls were starting to crack. The next day, the medical mission was still in full swing. Jonas worked alongside the local doctors, checking patients, giving advice, handing out medicine. But his eyes often drifted to where the children sat under a tree selling what was left of their rice cakes. "Dr. Jonas," came a voice behind him. He turned to see Nurse Mila, one of the organizers. She looked nervous. "There's someone here asking for you. She says it's urgent." Jonas followed her into a small office where an older woman stood waiting. Her name was Nurse Ida. She had worked in the maternity ward of a rural clinic 6 years ago. "I'm sorry to bother you," she said, her voice shaky, "but there's something I've carried for a long time. I think you need to know." Jonas frowned. "What is this about?" Ida handed him a faded envelope. "This was meant for your wife, for Leora, but it never reached her. I kept it, thinking one day the truth might come out." Jonas opened the letter carefully. It was short. It spoke of 3 healthy babies born to Leora at a small private facility, but something had gone wrong. Someone had paid to fake the records. The babies weren't dead. They had been taken away. "Who did this?" Jonas whispered, his voice hollow. Ida lowered her eyes. "I don't know who gave the order, but it came from someone powerful. After the birth, the babies were gone within hours. The hospital staff was told to say they had died." Jonas sat back, stunned. He couldn't breathe. "My mother," he muttered. "She never liked Leora. She never accepted our marriage." Nurse Ida placed a comforting hand on his arm. "If those children you're caring for now are the same ones, then fate has brought them back to you." Outside the door, Leora had been listening. She had followed quietly after seeing Jonas walk off with Mila. Now tears ran down her cheeks as she heard the truth for the first time. "They were alive," she whispered. "My babies were alive." She turned and ran, needing air, needing time. Later that day, screams broke the calm outside the clinic. "Help! Someone help us!" Leora rushed out. Leo and Tally were crying, their faces pale. "Eli, please nurse, help him," Tally sobbed. Eli was on the ground, unconscious, blood on his forehead. He had been hit by a motorbike while crossing the road. The driver had sped away without stopping. Jonas ran over, panic in his chest. "Get him inside now," he shouted. Leora lifted Eli into her arms without thinking. "He's burning up. We need to stabilize him." The next hour passed in a blur. Doctors worked together to save the boy. Leora stood by, refusing to leave his side. Her hands moved fast, steady and sure, even as tears threatened to fall. Jonas never left the room either. His eyes were fixed on the boy's face. This wasn't just another child, this was his son. His heart told him what his mind hadn't yet confirmed. Finally, the bleeding stopped. Eli was stable. Asleep, breathing. "Thank you," Jonas whispered to Leora as they left the emergency room together. She nodded, but her face was still pale. "He could have died," she said softly. "But he didn't," Jonas replied. They sat together on a bench outside, the night air cool and still. "I know the truth now," Jonas said after a long silence. Leora looked at him, her eyes tired, but curious. "They told you they died," he said. "But they didn't. Someone took them. I think it was my mother." Leora didn't speak. "Leo, Eli, and Tali," he continued. "They're ours." A long pause passed between them. Only the sound of crickets and distant voices filled the space. Leora finally whispered, "I felt it. The moment I saw them. I felt it in my bones." "We lost 6 years," Jonas said, his voice cracking. "And I'll never forgive myself for that. But we have them now. We found them." Leora wiped her tears with the back of her hand. "Do they know?" "Not yet," he said. "But they will. We'll tell them together." The stars were starting to appear in the sky. The children were safe. And the truth was no longer hidden. They had been broken apart, but something stronger than pain had brought them back together. Days passed quickly after Eli's accident. The boy healed faster than expected, and his laughter returned like sunshine after a long storm. Nurse Leora visited him every morning, bringing his favorite soup. Dr. Jonas stopped by every evening, carrying books, puzzles, and jokes that made all 3 children giggle. None of them had spoken yet, about the truth they now knew, not to the children, not to the world. But inside, Jonas and Leora both felt it. The air around them had changed. It was softer, warmer, filled with unspoken hope. One morning, Leo asked quietly, "Nurse Leora, do you think we'll ever have a real home?" She looked up from folding Eli's blanket. "What do you mean, Leo?" "Like a place where we don't have to sell food or hide when it rains or sleep on the floor," he said. Tali chimed in, "And where we can go to school, and where someone tells us bedtime stories." Liona's heart broke a little. She nodded slowly. "Yes, I believe that one day you'll have that, maybe sooner than you think." Later that week, Jonas took the children and Leora to a small house on the edge of town. It wasn't large or fancy, but it was bright and full of light. The garden was wild with flowers. There was a tree big enough to climb and a kitchen that smelled like cinnamon from the neighbor's window. "What's this place?" Eli asked, eyes wide. "This is your new home," Jonas said softly. The children stared at him. "We talked to your grandmother before she passed," Jonas continued. "She wanted you to be safe, and Leora and we want to take care of you." "Forever?" Tali whispered. "Yes," Leora answered, stepping beside Jonas. "Forever." There was a long pause. Then Leo asked, "But why?" Jonas kneeled to their level. "Because we love you, and because we're not strangers. We're your real parents." The words floated in the air, soft but powerful. "What?" Eli said, blinking. "It's true," Leora added gently. 6 years ago, I gave birth to 3 babies. I was told they didn't survive, but they did. You did. "We're your kids?" Tali asked, her voice shaking. Jonas nodded. "We are your mother and father." The silence broke with sobs, but they were not sad tears. The children cried and hugged both of them. Leora held them tightly, whispering, "I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I would have found you if I did." "We're not mad," Leo said, wiping his nose. "We're just happy we're not alone anymore." A new chapter had begun. Months passed. The children enrolled in school. They had new clothes, books, and their own beds for the first time. Every evening, they came home to a warm meal. Jonas helped with homework. Leora sang songs while folding laundry. They were not a perfect family, but they were real. And they were healing. One day, Jonas stood outside the clinic where he worked and saw a familiar figure waiting. It was his mother, Clarice. "We need to talk," she said. Jonas didn't smile. "I know what you did." Clarice looked down. "I thought I was protecting you. I didn't want you tied to someone I didn't choose. You stole my children," he said, voice cold. "You broke my wife's heart. You destroyed 6 years of our lives. I regret it," she whispered. "I truly do." "Then don't come near them," Jonas said. "Don't come near Leora. Don't come near the kids. They're my grandchildren," Clarice said. "No," he replied, turning away. "They're Leora's and mine, and we'll protect them even from you." Jonas walked away, and for the first time, Clarice felt truly alone. One rainy afternoon, Tally tugged on Leora's shirt. "Can we go to the park even if it's wet?" she asked. "Just wear boots," Leora replied with a smile. The family played in the puddles, laughing like they never had before. Jonas carried Eli on his shoulders. Leo chased after Tally with an umbrella. They looked like any other happy family. No one would guess the storm they had survived. That night, as the children lay asleep in their rooms, Jonas and Leora sat on the porch watching the stars appear between clouds. "Do you ever think about the past?" Jonas asked. "Every day," Leora replied. "But now it doesn't hurt as much." Jonas reached for her hand. "I want to make a new future with you. No lies. No more loss." She squeezed his hand gently. "We already are." In the quiet night, surrounded by laughter and peace, they both knew something beautiful had been rebuilt. Not just a home, but a life. A life written by love,